Stop jumping on me. Why are you doing that?
Having a bad dog day?
Rex, come back here.
From police dogs to pet dogs, from potty training to pet peeves, #1 best-selling author and 30-year canine trainer Andy Falco knows how to get to the meat of what's eating your dog. This is Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect.
What a good boy. Good heel, Rex. I love you, Rex.
And now here's your host, Andy Falco.
Hey gang, this is Andy over at the Train the Dog Trainer podcast. My name's Andy Falco Jimenez, and I'm with
Cameron Thompson.
Nice. That's the best one I've done yet. That's awesome. I love almost all of our podcasts start with us laughing about something, kind of manically. But we have a good topic. As a matter of fact, Cameron and I were just talking about it, and she's going to take the lead on this topic, and she's passionate about this. I know because I've watched her do a couple of her own Facebook Lives on topics that are very similar to what she's talked about right now, and this is a good one for her. So Cameron, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk about attitude and intention in business, and specifically how that affects your experience of the entrepreneurial endeavor, your experience of calling in great clients to your business, and how you can help actually serve those clients and show them the path to creating a better dynamic and relationship with not just their dog, but also in their life as a whole. Right. But that self-reflection piece that has to come with it at first, so that you're really aware of your stuff, where you're coming from, what you bring to the table. And there's some nuance there that I think we can talk about.
What's funny is that you brought up, though, you put entrepreneur in with dog trainer. And it wasn't, I think, for years that I was a dog trainer. I wasn't an entrepreneur nor a business owner, even though I was getting checks and getting paid. And I made a mess of my QuickBooks fairly early in my life. But I'm glad you said that, because, I mean, I think that's one big mistake early on. I think that's why I found myself in business trouble, never on the dog side, because the dogs, I knew how to train human beings and their dogs. Right. It was the business side of things that I found myself completely a mess. Yep. So I'm glad you put those two things together. And this is a really good time for this topic, because up to this point, we've been talking about some systems and some things to consider, but this I think is very timely. So I think it's really crucial to how you create your systems even. I mean, I almost feel like we could move this order of podcasts around a little bit, if we really wanted people to be prepared to create their systems with the greatest amount of awareness and empowerment for why they're doing it and what they are endeavoring to get out of it as a result, right? But regardless, this is something that I think is really important for people to put a pin marker in and think about coming back to many times over. I would love it if they bookmarked this conversation and really thought, in terms of having good process, that, I think I should go listen back through that maybe once a month for a little bit and see what comes up, because this stymies a lot of people in their experience of growing a thriving dog-based business. And unless you work for another company and you have no responsibility to generating leads and closing sales and handling, procedures and running the business side of things, you're an entrepreneur in this industry. And that means you've got to have good process and recognition around what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Otherwise, you really do set yourself up for a lot of unnecessary heartache, and it's just not as much fun as it could be. And for most of us, we make the mistake of not thinking that way. Most of us do start out with a love of training dogs, a love of making a difference, saving lives, getting addicted even to the experience of working with risky dogs and turning them around and all that flashy stuff. But, we quickly find out that we're overloaded, we're tired because we don't have good boundaries, we have not prioritized our family and other relationships properly, or we don't know how to freaking lead a team, and our staff is changing too much, or they're frustrated and they're not feeling confident or doing the great level of quality work that we set a precedence for our company to provide in the first place. So these are the things I think are really important for us to pass on and share and kind of highlight for folks that are really, really crucial components of running a rockstar dog business. Yeah, and all those things you talked about really, it harms your process of project management. Because each new dog that you bring in is a new project, right? And they're different, and the humans are different, and they have different needs. Yeah. You talked about, I'm not sure if it was on our podcast or on your Facebook Live, where you talked about that you don't want the customer calling you every 10 seconds asking how your dog is, which is funny. I have a funny story about today. But project management, really, I think that's another place I struggled. I'd have so many projects going on and trying to remember where I was and who was involved in what
context
state, that kind of
switching.
So,
yeah.
So how do we tackle this big subject? And what do you want to talk about first? What do you want to speak about?
Well, I actually kind of want to start with my t-shirt. Okay, so I'm wearing this. I don't normally wear a t-shirt, ladies and gentlemen. Not that I don't wear clothes, but I'm not really a t-shirt fan. Okay, don't get so excited, everybody.
Well, now you know why I started videotaping these.
That's right. Podcasts. He's like, maybe we could do the video thing, Cam, because sometimes maybe we could. No. Okay, so the reason that I want to start with my t-shirt is because in case you cannot see right now, in case you're just on audio, my shirt says, dogs make me happy, you not so much. And here's where I think we need to start. The fact that when you want to get into the dog industry, if your attitude and intention is one of people are stupid, I love dogs more, you're doomed, okay? Yes. If you get into this industry with a recognition of it's a relationship that you are interpreting, it is a relationship between a dog and a human that you are stewarding and educating about, and that you need to be equally, if not more, passionate about loving people, caring about people, serving people, appreciating people, because the people are writing your paycheck, by the way, not the dog. If you come from that standpoint, then you can absolutely knock this out of the park and have a phenomenal time. So a lot of times, in this industry, we see trainers that are struggling come in for coaching and mentorship with us, and we start to unpack all the layers of why they're like in Suckville right now and not enjoying the process. And this is stuff that comes up often, frequently, that they're tired of people. People are such a problem for them. People are such a pain in the ass to them. Their customers are so demanding. Their, clients are constantly bothering them. They're not compliant, right? That's a crappy attitude. It's a really, really crappy attitude that will manifest more of the same. Whatever you're focusing on is going to grow, right? I'm always telling my clients, what you focus on grows. What you put your mind to, you're inviting and creating. This is just law of attraction stuff, and it's for real. You'll notice it in your business if you're struggling now and you sit down and really reflect back on how you've been spending your days, waking up and dreading answering messages or looking at your text messages from clients and, you're so frustrated that they're asking you another stupid question. You are at the core of the responsibility for those things happening to you. You've invited it. You've allowed it. You've taught them to engage with you that way, and you can untaught them, right? You can reteach them what is a healthier, more empowering way, more accountable way to interact with you, the interpreter, the prescribing physician, their legal representative for their dog, essentially. That's your job. That's the role that you have. And you've got to care just as much about enrolling the human beings in the equation as you do training the dog itself. So this to me is really important. We can think this stuff is kind of funny and cute and kitschy, right? And we got a good laugh at it, in the beginning. But if your attitude is literally, people suck, so animals instead, you're not going to find yourself creating a thriving business and really, welcoming people of a high caliber, clients of a high vibe into your business. And you're going to struggle to make the difference for the dogs ultimately. If you can't see that, then we need to go backwards even further and really get you to pattern interrupt, maybe close your business for a couple of weeks and go on a retreat or something so you can infuse a new level of passion around what it is that you're trying to get done here and make sure you're in the right industry. Yeah. So this is something I notice a lot. I don't know, how often you get to see that in your programs and with, students and mentoring. But for me on that business side of folks coming in to unpack where they want their business to grow stronger and have more consistent leads and finances, this is going to be a big stopping point for them. Yeah,
it's almost like you're reading out of my manual that I give my employees and my trainers. And I don't remember the exact wording that I have in there, but it's something to the effect that the dog does not write the check nor give you the credit card. It's the human. And so you need to be aware that that's your customer, not the dog. But you also remind me of two things. One is, if we're going to be teaching this concept, which I believe most dog trainers do at a certain level, I know that our level we do, and that is that the dogs have to have rules and boundaries. You do a good service of setting a standard with your customer that you also set up rules and boundaries for them. And it's a really good concept, I think, for they understand that you see how this works, right? You know, by you having the schedule that you need to do these things, here's the homework you need to do and you need to follow through. And you have that same expectation of your client, and they're going to pass on that same expectation on their dog. And it's the circle, I think, that you're setting up a good example of what that looks like and why it needs to happen in order for them to follow the same thing. So if you're kind of loosey-goosey with, well, you know, just kind of do that whenever you want, and you know, you don't have to be that consistent. Just kind of, if you're like that, then that message isn't going to be passed on in a way that you really want it to be heard. Especially when you're being so strong. If you just saw by chance any of my last Facebook lives, it has to do with that kind of thing, that you need to have. A dog needs a leader. A dog needs somebody that expects has high expectations for them, and you have these rules and boundaries. I think are really, really important. And then on the other side, the second part of this is that when somebody comes to you for your expertise and for your knowledge, you need to be professional enough to also have those types of things in place. You are more professional when you have expectations and you have rules and boundaries as to when they can call you, when your time is valuable, and when, and we just talked about this. I let a couple of my classes go a little bit long today, but it was because of me talking too long. But you know, letting them know, and I'm going to actually get to the part which I said I'll refer to later, where you know, I say you can give us a call, but we're not available 24 hours a day. And I forgot exactly again the wording I sent them or said to them today. But Aldo and I left this home from a home visit with a dog, and I didn't get out of their block before my phone rang and said, "Okay, I was just wondering." I just told you, you know, that we will call you, we'll check on you, see how you're doing, but you can't call us every time. Well, the dog did this. You know what? I want to let you know the dog. Is it okay? No, that's not how this works. We gave you things to do. This is what you're supposed to do. You're responsible for making them happen. And when appropriate or when we schedule, we'll call you and make sure that we have follow up. But back to my point is that that's professionalism that they want to have, whether they like it or not. Right? They don't want to go to some loosey-goosey, fly by the seat of their pants type of company. They want somebody that represents something professional, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, and this really is about your attitude toward yourself, your worthiness and valuation of yourself, that you have the right to set those standards and implement those boundaries. It comes back to, you know, your attitude as far as how you look at the opportunity and the invitation that's in front of you when you're confronted with situations like that. So what oftentimes happens is you get that text message, right? Or you get that nagging call, or that needy person is emailing for the, 10th time. And what I'll see trainers who are not in good process do is they will blame, they will react, they will argue and articulate that is something wrong with that individual. What I'm proposing and really, really a staunch advocate for is that instead you take 100% responsibility and you really look at your attitude in that moment and recognize they are exploring the boundaries here. It's up to me. It's an invitation for me to hold them in their power to problem solve this without me. It's up to me to set an intention that I have these boundaries around my business, that this is how you work with me. This is how you treat me. It doesn't ever have to come to, oh my God, they're so obnoxious, or they're so disrespectful, or they're so daft. I mean, people are, don't get me wrong. There's some crazy stuff going on out there in humanity. However, it doesn't serve you as an entrepreneur, especially in this industry around a very emotional topic such as pets, right? It doesn't serve you to come from that place attitudinally. It only invites more struggle in your interaction, your relationship with that client. And so, your intention, if it's one of, I want to help as many people as I can with this information, therefore I have to be responsible to be really diligent about my schedule, to be really diligent about my boundaries and teaching people how to treat me and teaching them how to learn. Even some of them really don't know how to learn, that there's a process, right, of letting things simmer and searching and seeking information on your own. It's like, let me Google that for you. There's these moments where you run into the fact that some people just really don't have the tools. You don't have to have an attitude of resentment about it. That's only going to get in your way and create more of the same. Instead, you can have an attitude of, hey, man, they just maybe really don't have the tools and haven't been taught how to life a little bit here. So I'm going to show them. This is what you do when you have a question. This is what you do when you need to refer back or find more information. And I will see you next time. Or here is the platform in which you can put this question that does not interfere with my boundaries and my personal life, right? So really, really wanting folks to pay attention, to their attitude and intention around why are you in this industry in the first place? If you've got an issue with people and you think you're going to avoid people by training dogs, you're wrong. Let us save you a whole lot of hassle right now. Let us save you a whole lot of unhappy, cared about, poorly served clientele that trail behind you, right? And really just invite you to choose something else. Choose something else. But if you get that, you don't mean you hate people. You've just been struggling with your own stuff and thinking you could avoid coming to terms with it, then I have the show for you, because you can get through if you have that attitude and intention, right? We can. We can.
Every dog is attached to a human being.
Yes. Huge.
somewhere along the way. But we should also remind you also that you don't have to take every customer that comes your way. If somebody is completely going to be a caustic situation, is that the right word? What's the word I'm looking for?
Caustic is toxic. It makes me think of bleach.
Yeah, toxic. I like toxic better. If it's a toxic, if you know that this is going to be toxic, or this is a problem, you don't have to take them.
Yeah.
You just say, I don't think this is a good fit for you or I. And there's other dog trainers. Let me refer you to Cameron Thompson. She's fantastic.
Don't you dare.
But at some point, you got to take some
Cam, who will tell you even more directly what a mess you are.
Right. But again, you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that to every customer, because then you don't have a business, right? But there's going to be a couple. Right. For me right now, a large company that starts with a D, ends with Y, and rhymes with Isney, I will never take them ever again as a customer, because for me, it just wasn't one of those.
It's not the happiest place for you, huh?
No, not as not as a client. They're not. I take them as a client. They were a little bit difficult, but yeah, you don't have to say. And I think there was a problem in that too, that I was trying to say yes to everybody. And understand that there are those people you're going to have to say no to. However, at some point, you're going to have to take clients that are challenging, that are tough, and with your, the rules and boundaries you put in place, and very clear, and be strong, but yet be a good person, be a good trainer, be good, communicator. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, have integrity around the opportunity and the invitation that's in front of you when people are struggling and hurting, and they need what you have to share with them. You really do have a responsibility to do it in a way that will best empower them, and that will also allow you to continue to do what you do in a healthy and balanced way. If you are allowing this stuff to stack up because you're not managing your attitude appropriately, and you're struggling to, be executive in your role, you burn out. You can't help anybody. What happens is you just become resentful, and so many other things suffer. If you're a parent, your dynamic with your kids suffers. If you're in a relationship with somebody, that suffers. Everything starts to be impacted by an unwillingness, as it were, to confront those aspects of your own, dynamic and struggle to set those boundaries, have that attitude and accountability. So I really encourage, my business owner clients that I coach to look at their environment really carefully and watch out for where, there may be some toxic, enabling dynamics in their life. People who are reinforcing crappy attitude in you. If you're hanging out in the trainer community with other trainers who don't like people, that's going to be a continued issue for you. That's going to be keeping you in that same nasty, place where you're inviting more of the same. You've got to get ruthless in your editing, in my opinion, of your influences and your accountability if you want to change your attitude.
I think the subject that we're talking about is a learned and trained, and it's a process that I think you have to go through just as much as learning how to train yourself how to work with dogs. It's very similar. And I think that you should also, as I encourage people to journal, their processes of each dog that they have and write down what worked, what didn't work, what tools work, that food motivated or, compulsion motivated, whatever it is. As much as you keep a journal about those things, I think it's just important to do that with the customers you have and talk about those things. Because what makes me think about it, I do a lot of group training where there's multiple people on a field with other dogs, and I have things that I do individually. And I can think of times where I've chosen to call somebody out in a group environment because I thought that that's what would motivate them the best. And you have to be careful, right? You can't do that with everybody. And I think it's a skill that you learn and you have to train and you have to practice. That there's times where I know that if I call this person out because of the way that, and more often it's men, and this isn't a sexist thing, but more often it's men who they always want to show their best face in a group. They want to be looked at as strong and powerful. And when you call them out, sometimes it motivates them to get better and be stronger. And so I've learned when I can do that. I've also learned when I need to take somebody away and talk to them privately, because if I did that to this other type of personality, they would be destroyed and I would never see them again. And these are things I've learned I think I've had the advantage of being a police officer for many years and a detective. But these are skills that you have to know what is it that's going to motivate that person to be better with their dog and how you can speak to them. I've had people cry under the smallest, tiniest things. I've had people, get angry. I've had people say F you and throw down their leash and walk out. But I've learned over a period of time how to manage these different types of personality. That's the point I'm getting to, is that you're going to be dealing with a lot of different people and you're not going to handle them all the same. Kind of like with dogs, you're not going to handle every dog situation the same. Do you find that in yours, or am I overthinking it for some people? Should they just have this flat personality? That was a really long question.
No, it's good. I mean, you're talking about behavioral psychology, and you're talking about how it matches up with the very thing that I'm wanting us to convey, which is, your attitude and intention adjust with your self-awareness. As you grow and do the work of looking at what it is that you bring to the table, hopefully you gain a lot of humility, that you're not perfect yourself, that you have your own set of struggles and difficulties, that you have your own areas of weakness and, an inability to maintain good boundaries or consistency at something that you've been trying to accomplish and you haven't yet, right? Hopefully you come to the table with a certain amount of humility and the right amount of empathy, not to lead with it, but to be able to see someone where they're at and understand why they're struggling. Those things, that attitude, that intention, combined with an awareness and a training and an effort to learn about behavioral psychology, that, in my opinion, is what allows you to make executive decisions about how and when to convey certain pieces of feedback, accountability, confrontation in a way that is best received by the recipient. So, this is a big piece of it, though. If you are trying to just blast through life telling everyone everything they're doing wrong, you're going to struggle. There are going to be a lot of people who are not going to be able to hear you in those moments, and they're going to just outright reject something that they probably really do need to know. But your attitude, your intention, those defenses that are coming along with it, or, that deflecting that might be present still, is going to get in the way of enrolling them into the information they really probably need to hear. So This is why I'm such a big advocate of, how crucial this self-awareness is, how crucial it is that you take the time to be conscious of what it is you're trying to get done in this industry and of how much is going to be required of you in order to do that, in order to accomplish that, whether it's a realistic goal, whether it's thinking clearly enough about all parts of what will be involved as you get down the line. because that's what starts to empower you to make decisions about what's needed, to strategize, to find the tools and the resources you might need to complement, where you're not as strong. And it will shift how you interpret your potential clients before you work with them, while you're working with them, after you've worked with them. Many scenarios we run into in coaching trainers where, I board and trained this dog 2 years ago, and now they're calling me and they're all upset because the dog is doing this behavior. And the attitude and the intention of the trainer may be, these people are idiots. They didn't comply. Obviously, I did an amazing job. The dog was fine, right? What power do you have in that attitude? What power do you have if that is your perspective? Not much.
No.
Not much at all. You feel that everything is happening to you. You perceive that you have a crappy client and the dog probably needs to be rehomed, when in reality, stuff happens, right? There are plenty of things, if we got into that trainer's life, that they're still struggling with, that they were struggling with 2 years ago. Have a little humility, check yourself, and really think about that this is your job. This is your job. Your job is to walk back into the dynamic and say, you know what, guys, this is a deeper rooted thing, because your dog was totally capable of getting trained up real nice in my house.
And that's kind of where you become a genius to them, where you start to say, what's happened? What has changed since the last time I saw you? Maybe divorce, maybe a death in the family, maybe they've moved. Right?
Somebody lost a job or a baby came along.
Yeah. And now you become the genius because they go, I didn't think about that. Well, let's talk about how it's changed the dynamics between you and your dog. And then from a completely different perspective, gives you brand new speaking points, puts you in another position of the hierarchy, with them, that now you're, oh my gosh, they're so good. I never would have thought that me having a child would have changed my relationship with my dog. And to us, it's so obvious, right? But to them, they're going, "Oh my gosh, that is so good!" And I've had that kind of attitude, that I've come up with something that they'd never even thought of in a million years. And then once you fixed it, now you have referrals, right? They tell their friend, or they tell somebody else. They get on Facebook Live and they tell somebody about it, and next thing you know, you have 5 more customers because you checked your attitude, like we just talked about, and looked at it from the perspective of they need help. And that's why I'm here. That's my job, is to help them with their dog. One of the things you were talking about, I'm not sure if this is going to be completely out of place, but when you were talking about understanding the psychology of people,
your audio cut out for me for just a second.
Is it back now? How about now? Yeah. How about you are muted now? Press Command Shift. Command Shift what? How about now?
You're more clear now. Yeah, but it was really, really choppy garbly for a sec there. Let's see if we don't get
told me
better stretch.
Told me hit Command Shift.
Okay.
So going back to the understanding psychology and really looking at that as part of your your learning. I mean
your intention. Yeah.
As you become a good dog trainer, you also need to become a good human trainer. Look at human psychology, really study that, learn all the different personalities that are on the spectrum and that type of thing. But another thing is that I found myself over the years, I've become a master at reading body language in people, not just in dogs, but at people. And sometimes I can answer a question that they have on their head that I know they're thinking based on their body language. Like, an easy one is when they roll their eyes, right? I know you're thinking that you are not going to be able to do this, or what I'm telling you is hard on you. And they go, oh, how did you know that, right? So that's an easy one. But again, the way that people, slouch or put their hands on their hips or do stuff, become a master at reading body language, and you'll be able to anticipate the questions that they're thinking. And so I think that, speaks again, understanding the psychology of people just a little bit.
Hopefully our audio won't be compromised, because I definitely am getting some major interference on my end here and there. So I'm really hoping for our listeners' sake that we won't have any complication there. It seems like it's probably net related, but hard to say here.
All right. Well, if necessary, I'll make any edits, but yours sound fine on this end. So go ahead and go on to what's next on your agenda of things you want to talk about.
I don't have anything left on my agenda. I just wanted to, really flesh this out to make sure that we started some good conversation around it for folks that are listening, that they understand, how important this piece of the puzzle is, how often it comes up as an inhibition in creating a thriving business. And, especially within this industry and the niche that we serve, where there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of disconnect, right, around our pets and thinking that they are something that we just purchase and bring home and love on and enjoy having around as a emotional crutch, as it were, or an entertainment value or something like that. But that once we run into issues of really being in pain and frustration over behavior struggles and or illness and things like that, it changes a lot about that person's psyche. If they don't have good process, if they're not accustomed to looking deeper down into the root cause of things, they really need you to be exceptional in your ability to do that. They really need us as dog trainers to be exceptional in our willingness to look at our stuff. And I just think that's such a crucial thing for, folks that I find myself working with and supporting. They'll often go to many different classes. They'll learn many different techniques of training. They'll learn many different styles of teaching classes and programs to offer, but they're still missing these pieces of the puzzle where if they are not plugged in to empowering owners to understand their own behavior, empowering owners to understand just how layered and cumulative a lot of their struggles are in their lives, they're not going to set that owner up for the best potential success long term. They're not going to give everything they possibly could to empowering that individual and deepening that relationship to the highest extent possible. So to me, that's about your attitude, your intention, your recognition that this is a very high calling, that this is not about I prefer animals so I can avoid people. But instead it's about, in order to help animals, we've got to really help people, and we've got to have a solid sense of ourselves. We've got to have a solid sense of our boundaries, and our systems and procedures are in place to protect our ability to do this for the long haul, to do this with joy, to do it with humility and appreciation and gratitude for the invitation that it is when we're speaking into someone's life like we do. Those are the people that I see thriving and really doing well in this industry for the most part. Are the folks that really have had to turn that lens on themselves and really look out for what's my attitude in this process? What's my intention? I want to become the best possible version of myself as an entrepreneur while I go along, and trust that I can then make a decent living and be taken care of and help other people get where they want to go to. That's the invitation that I would have for anybody who's listening and thinking about or has started down the path of having a dog-based business. It's so much more than just dog training.
Yeah.
And it really will change your experience of it and your ability to impact as well.
There's one thing that I've always remembered from my time in the police academy, and that was from a gentleman who was a lieutenant with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. His name was Lieutenant Abbott. And Lieutenant Abbott was teaching us one day, and I've never forgotten this. I've forgotten a lot that got taught during the academy, but this is one thing that I've not forgotten. And he said, remember, on every call that you go on, at that time and moment in the person's life that you are serving, whether it's the suspect, the witness, or the victim, that this is the most important thing happening in their life right now. And it's your responsibility to leave all of your troubles behind. If you're at work, you have to be there. You have to be there in all your mind and understand that that's the most important thing happening to them, and to treat it that way. That it's not about you when you're on that call. So no matter how frustrated you are, or you maybe don't like that person, or you don't like their attitude, your job is to handle that situation as if it's the most important thing in their life. And so that's carried me over into the business too, so that when I'm working with somebody and their dog, that they're there probably because this dog is at its last leg, either with them as a family member, or they got kicked out of some other dog training program, or it's possible this dog may be euthanized. And so that's really important to them. And so this moment in time that you're with them is one of the most important times in their life, and that you put yourself in this position to be there with them. And you need to look at that as that high of a level and high of a priority in your business. And then the other thing is I remind our handlers and our trainers that they got into this business because they had a passion for it. This is one of those businesses you get into it because you love it. And that's all you've thought about doing probably since you were a little kid. And to remember that, and that you have an opportunity to change somebody's life, to change a dog's life. And so no matter what's going on in your life, that maybe this is the time that you can get away from all those things that are happening to you, the pain that you may have in your back or your shoulder, or the disease or the cancer that you might be having that you're fighting, that this is an opportunity for you to get away from all that and really kind of just enjoy yourself and helping somebody with their dog, and to kind of use it as therapy, and to look at it that, I'm here, I'm gonna forget what's going on in my life, the divorce or whatever, and then use this as, I'm gonna be a little bit selfish, I'm gonna look at this and just focus on it and get away from the troubles that I have going on in my life. And so if you can look at it as the most important thing in their life, or an opportunity to get away from those things that are, happening to you, and just focused and be present. Being present is huge. There's nothing worse than talking to somebody and you can tell they're not even there, right? I've had to work with some, back to my police years, I've had to work with some lieutenants and captains where I'd be trying to talk to them about something and they didn't hear a word I said. And I hated that. So be present and be listening, be aware of what's going on at that time and day. And so those are my two things that I try to remind all the people that work for me.
Excellent. Yeah, they're great points, and hopefully this will inspire a little bit of introspection for folks that are listening, and wanting to really create something exceptional and extraordinary in their experience of being an entrepreneur, being a dog trainer, running a dog-based business. That is what we want to see, I think, shift in our industry in general. There's a lot of great about it. There's also been a lot of struggle for people who I think missed these elements over the years and dove in without recognition for how much their business experience would reflect their personal attitude and intention and personal growth, and really empower them to realize how interconnected those systems are, that one will not exceed the other. It's not going to be until you effort and have a good intention around understanding people on a deeper level and caring about what you can share with them about your own process and journey, that you really explode your business. So this is an important one.
Yep. And try doing a podcast or a Facebook Live with the internet that's not cooperating with it, right? And but I'm thinking about that because, we could get mad and angry, but that's out of our control, right? It's all Al Gore's fault. He's created the internet. And so it's those things that happen. Like there's a lot going on. I know, I'll just stick to myself. There's a lot going on in my life with the divorce, and that's why I brought up divorce and kind of laughed. I'm going through a custody thing right now, but I love these moments where I could spend with Cameron and talking, and then it would take sometimes, for some people, just this little thing with the internet to go down, and then a lot of times you just lose it.
They blow. Yep.
But again, I love dog training. I love helping people with their dogs. I love doing these podcasts. I love spending time with Cameron. So I choose to focus on that. If it doesn't work out where this podcast can actually be published, then the good news is I get to spend more time with Cameron and do it again. Is the glass half full or the glass half empty?
That's right.
And so you just got to understand that this is life.
Yeah, you learn that attitude. You learn over time. It just either it wasn't meant to be, or we're being saved from something. You start to recognize there's a whole choice around how you look at the experiences, the events in your life. Canfield, Jack Canfield talks about this whole equation, E plus R equals O. You have events that happen to you all the time. The response is up to you, and your response impacts the outcome. So pay attention to how you respond to the events in your life. If you don't like the outcome you're experiencing, you can change it. It's entirely within your ability to change your response. Everything from internet to traffic, to getting an email, a text message, a client struggling with compliance, dog crapping in their crate, whatever it might be, your choice, how you respond to that event, and you can 100% start to shift these outcomes in your favor to where you want them to be. If it's not working for you now, then you're going to just need to make some changes in your attitude and intention. It's really that simple.
You made me think about the dogs that, have diarrhea in their kennel, and it's everywhere, right? And you have to get,
the joys.
You have to approach at some point. And then sure enough, they sit down because they're supposed to sit when I open up the gate. That's my dog's rules. And when they sit down, their tail's getting full of paint.
Yes.
And then they stand up and then
so here's the thing. Next Next episode will be about team, growing your team. See, I have people who do that part of the equation now. Thank God. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Carrie Ann. Thank you to my current intern, Hope. I have people who handle the paint smears 99.9% of the time, and man, is that the best thing ever. When you grow a team, it's a game changer for sure.
All right.
So we'll tackle that one next because I know we're out of time for today.
Yeah, and plus the internet goblins are kicking our ass today. All right. So awesome, Cameron. That's a great subject, and if I would love if this podcast doesn't work out for some reason, I want to come back and do it again because I think it's important.
There we go.
As you freeze up. All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys.
Did I with my shoulders up? Okay, let's see if I can have a little evidence of no, this isn't gonna work. Oh. Come on.
I can't believe your shirt is black. It's purple.
It's black.
It is not black. All right. Goodbye.
Black.
Thanks for listening to Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address at www.falcocanineacademy.com and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Falco Canine Academy. Follow us on twitter.com/Falco Canine Academy and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Falco143. And remember, this is a production of Falco Enterprises Incorporated. All rights reserved.